Okay, welcome back everyone to the 2018-2019 school year at San Benito Consolidated Independent School District. The last time we convened as an entire district, we were celebrating Fiesta style. I hope everyone enjoyed their Fiesta time with their family and friends. And now, as San Benito CISD educators, we'll transform from our Fiesta wear to our superhero capes and mindset as we embrace this year's theme, which is superheroes going for the bold. And as you can see, our posters demonstrate our theme this morning, and so we want to welcome everyone back. Once again, it's great to see shiny, happy superheroes this morning. We welcome all of our veteran administrators back, as well as giving a big welcome to those who are new to our district, and especially those who are beginning their new teaching careers here in San Benito. We want to welcome you and thank you as well. At this time, we'll go ahead and start with our presentation of platform guests who will be providing some of the program highlights. Joining us here this morning is our Board of Trustees, and we'll start with our President, Mr. Michael A. Vargas. Our Vice President, Angel Mendez. Our Secretary, M.L. Garcia. Member, Orlando Lopez. Member, Victor Rosas. Member, Sonia Weaver. And Member, Janie Silva. Joining us here this morning as well is our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Nate Carmen. Our Assistant Superintendent for Academic Services, Hector Madrigal. Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations, Hilda Rendon. And our Director of Public Relations, Celia Longoria. Joining us here from the city of San Benito, we have our own mayor, Mayor Ben Gomez. Mr. Gomez, back there. Also joining us here today is Justice of the Peace here from San Benito, Judge Jesus Chuy Garcia. Members of the media that may be here today, we want to welcome the Valley Morning Star, Elena Hernandez. And from the San Benito News, Freddie Jimenez. Also joining us on our platform is Audrey Garza, San Benito High School sophomore, who will be doing our national anthem. Angelina Joni Vargas, Dr. Garza, STEAM Academy, 5th grade student who will be doing our pledges, United States and Texas flag. And finally, joining us from Dr. Raul Garza's STEAM Academy is teacher Sarah Leos, who will be providing our invocation this morning. At this time, I ask everyone to please stand as we honor our country with a presentation of colors. Providing our presentation of colors is the San Benito High School's Navy Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps under the direction of Captain Nell Swanson, Chief Timothy Wilson, and Chief Jesus Gaitan. Joining us for our national anthem is Audrey Garza, San Benito High School sophomore, who is under the direction of Hilario Martinez, Director of Choirs. Ms. Garza has been selected to the All-Region Treble Choir for the 2017-2018 school year. Please help me welcome Audrey Garza.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early lights what what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the nights that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Audrey. Now help me welcome Angelina Joni Vasquez, who is a 5th grade student at Dr. Raul Garza at the STEAM Academy. Please help me welcome Angelina.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have our invocation, who will be recited by Sarah Leos, who is a teacher at Dr. Raul Garza STEAM Academy.
Good morning. Please bow your heads and join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing our San Benito CISD family to gather here today. We are blessed that each and every one of our staff members has returned to us safely from our summer vacation. Please grant us wisdom and understanding as we embark on this journey together. Fill each student with enthusiasm and a heart and mind that is ready to grow and learn. As we prepare for the new school year, we ask for the strength to lead, the grace to guide, and the hope to thrive in our classrooms. Grant us the ability to be the superheroes our children deserve. May you empower our teachers, whether new or returning, to find the potential that each child has to offer. Provide us with the compassion and knowledge we need to ensure that our students feel appreciated and safe. Let us lay the foundation and encourage our students to follow their dreams, because their future depends on the impact we have bestowed on them. Lord, we also ask that you help equip our board members, administrators, and our superintendent with the tools they need to make the best decisions for our district. May we be united as we work collaboratively to achieve the gold standard and be successful in all areas of public education. Bless all who interact with our children on a daily basis, and let us be the light for those who need it the most. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Let's give thanks to the San Benito High School Navy Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps under the direction of Captain Nell Swanson, Chief Timothy Wilson, and Chief Jesus Gaitan. You may have a seat. Now here to give a message on behalf of the San Benito Board of Trustees, please help me welcome President of the San Benito Board of Trustees, Michael A. Vargas.
Good morning, San Benito. Come on, good morning, San Benito. Thank you. Welcome to a brand spanking new school year. I want to start off my message by asking every single person who is new to the district to please stand up. That's all. Please give them a round of applause and a warm welcome. Thank you. So, you have chosen San Benito CISD, and we thank you for that. We thank you for, when I was at the new teachers training, you heard the same message. Thank you for entrusting your careers in San Benito CISD, because you have chosen a phenomenal time for you to join a team and family that has done some phenomenal things in the last couple of years. And if you roll through the clips historically, about 4 years ago when I started until now, it's been a whirlwind for us as a district. But now we're happy to admit that we're kind of in a good place, whether financially, operationally, administratively. San Benito CISD is definitely on the cusp. And you hear it from other districts. You hear it from other board members from across the region. What in the world is San Benito CISD doing? I mean, we're not doing anything different, but just doing what we need to do, and that's educating students. We're in the business of educating students to become those productive citizens in our society. There's no secret sauce to it. But I think as a board, and on behalf of the board, one of the main things that we were able to do is cut politics out of this district, and I think that's where we've been able to be very successful. Because it's all about the students. It's all about those bus drivers who are the first to see the students every morning. It is our security guards in the police department who keeps us safe. It is our, we're overworking this department now, but the technology department is very important because now that we're doing our one-on-one technology initiative, we thank them for providing those resources that we need. And we all know how much I love food, so the cafeteria workers, what would we do without them? Our maintenance and operations, thank you for keeping our buildings beautiful. Thank you for fixing those roofs. Thank you for everything you do on each of the campuses. And then administrators. Remember when we heard Henry Cisneros, who was the former mayor of San Antonio and the former HUD secretary last Wednesday? He called you all the cogs in the educational machine. Because what you do in each of your campuses is important. As leaders of each of your campus, you are the busy and the most important cogs in the machine that keeps the district going. So administration, thank you. And then last but not least, arguably the most important part of an educational system are our teachers and our teachers' aides. The ones closest to our students, I've always believed, deserve the most support, deserve the most attention, because y'all are indeed closest to our students. You're literally educating each and every student to become productive members of our society. So a round of applause for our teachers. So as you can see, it does indeed take a village to make sure that we are becoming successful, or that we are successful and remain successful. If one is not doing your part, then we fall apart. And we've seen that here at San Benito CISD. So you better bet that I will admit for this school year, as I'm board president, and on behalf of the board, that we're going to work extremely hard to make sure that we remain as a team and family. We will go through some rough turbulence, but we're in this together. right? We're in this together to achieve the gold standard in all areas of public education. Because we're already indeed doing that. We have a brand new STEAM Academy, well, not brand new, but we have a STEAM Academy that we have refurbished and that we're really excited about. Only the second STEAM Academy in the entire Rio Grande Valley. Only the second. We renovated formerly Landrum Elementary to now the Landrum Educational Complex, which will make our operations a lot more efficient as we house several departments there now. And the biggest thing that I'm excited about as a board called last Tuesday in our board meeting was a bond election. And why I'm excited about that is because we can talk about progress, we can think about progress, but for the first time in the last 10 years, we're going to be able to see progress as we see these state-of-the-art structures being built in our very own city. Our state-of-the-art performing arts center that our students deserve. Our indoor athletics football facilities that our athletes and everybody deserves. And then our natatorium, if you're into swimming. But I'm really proud about that because it really says that we've come a long way. Because not only will this be great for our students and our teachers and our staff, this is going to be great economic development for our city. The San Benito School District will finally be able to contribute to what the city's progress will look like and what it will remain for the future moving forward. So I say all of these things and share because don't forget where we've been and where we are now. And we've been in this together as a team and family, and please don't forget that. So on behalf of the San Benito Board of Trustees, welcome to a new school year. Hopefully you're well rested because it's going to be another great year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vargas. We appreciate those words. At this time, we'll hear from our district leader, and I would like to wish him a happy first anniversary because he's completing his first year. Please help me welcome our superintendent of schools who will deliver our State of the District address. Please help me welcome Dr. Nate Carmen.
Good morning. Ms. Gonzalez, thank you for that warm introduction. Going on 1 year. A year ago, this suit fit. I've enjoyed the valley. I've enjoyed the food quite a bit. It's working out well for me. All right. It's hard to believe that we are already kicking off the 18-19 school year. We hope you've all enjoyed a wonderful summer, got to spend some time with your families, relaxing on vacation, and most importantly, getting that much-needed rest. It's been a quick summer, and we have remained busy with activities here in San Benito School District. We've had professional development, hiring of new staff, right around 100, facilities, renovations, and more. And we are well prepared to start the new year. And today, we are kicking off what is certain to be one of the best years for our district. Today, I want to begin by bringing us all back to the reason we're here. I'm going to ask you all, for just a few seconds, if you would close your eyes. I want each of you to think back through all the wonderful memories you've had here at San Benito School District and find that one moment that brought you the greatest sense of pride and a profound recognition that you were exactly where you needed to be. Maybe it was your team winning a significant game, a struggling student finally grasping a concept you taught them, or having a student tell you how much of an impact you had on them. Take this moment, remember how you felt, what you saw, what you said, and what your thoughts were. All right, now if you all open your eyes back up. Folks, this is the reason we're all here today, because we are exactly where we need to be, doing exactly what we need to be doing to provide our San Benito students with the gold standard in education. As part of our district's Reimagine 2021 strategic plan, one of our areas of focus is communications and public relations. We believe this is crucial in helping us succeed as a district. Through various mediums, we are able to retain and attract students and employees, highlight the many positive stories, successes, and accomplishments of our students and staff, and most importantly, we're able to tell our story to the community and to the other districts across the region. Internally, we all know the great things happening across our individual campuses, but telling that story as a collective body to our external community can oftentimes get lost or forgotten. As we move forward with improving our district's communication and our public relations effort, I invite you to be part of this movement with us. Let's work together to tell the story of our students, the story of the positive changes we are making to improve educational opportunities, and the story of what it means to have Greyhound pride. Today, I want to offer you a strong and clear expectation of all of our district staff to help in our communications and outreach efforts by serving as an ambassador for San Benito CISD. Each of us is here serving in our individual capacities because we have a strong sense of pride in our school district, we want the best for our students, and we want our San Benito community to be proud of all of our accomplishments. Each of us has an individual and personal responsibility to do our part to share the San Benito pride, joy, and passion with every single person you come across. Each of you is on the front lines with our students, our parents, and our community, and interacts with them on a daily basis. We're teachers, custodians, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, administration, paraprofessionals, and more. And each of us has one thing in common. We're all proud of the work we're doing for our students, and rightfully so. As a district, we're a product of all those positive individual efforts, and overall are well on our way to providing a gold standard education for all of our students. School pride is immeasurable, and it is contagious. And together, we can change lives, we can change hearts, and we can change communities. Let's all embrace the directive of being Greyhound ambassadors and share our San Benito stories. I'm going to ask you to brag about all the great things that you're doing individually. Share the great news that you see on social media, in the news, or in the paper. And build up this district so that you're all a part of. Because you're proud of the work you're doing, and you want our students and community to be proud of San Benito CISD. Now, in order to arm you with the best information regarding our school district and its many accomplishments, I'm going to share with you some key highlights. Some of these you'll recognize from our end-of-year celebration, and some are new. I'm going to start with our academics, our extracurriculars, and athletic accomplishments. On the most recent STAR assessments, the 2018 STAR assessments, San Benito CISD improved as compared to the rest of the state on passing rates in 16 out of 22 assessments. San Benito CISD increased from being at the state average or above from 2017 on just 2 out of 22 state assessments to 5 in 2018. 11 out of our 17 traditional campuses received TEA distinction designations this year. As a district, we earned a 78 on the new accountability system, which is a C for this year's accountability. Not as high as we would have hoped for. However, it is up 4 points from the 74 we earned in 2017, so movement in the right direction. By campus, Dr. Cash Elementary was named to the prestigious 2017-2018 Educational Results Partnership Honor Roll for its high achievement and student success. Also, recently, Dr. Cash Elementary was selected as the Valley Morning Star's Reader's Choice winner as the best elementary school. Two of our campuses, Veteran Memorial Academy, and Dr. Cash were among the 18 nationwide finalists for the National Excellence in Urban Education Award, with Dr. Cash advancing to the award category. It will be awarded in October in San Diego. We also enjoyed a tremendous amount of success. Sorry, if you want to cheer for Dr. Cash again, please do. We enjoyed a tremendous amount of success with boys and girls athletics, including district championships in football, girls basketball, and softball. Additionally, volleyball advanced to postseason competition, as well as having regional qualifying relay teams in girls and boys track and a state qualifier in girls wrestling. In powerlifting, I told you all this back in the spring, but it's well worth repeating. One of our students, Leanne Ramirez, was a state champion in powerlifting and earned a gold medal at the USA Powerlifting Meet, lifting 1,119 pounds and setting an American record total for the Teen 2 category. At our high school scholarship night, scholarships given to our San Benito graduating students totaled in the millions. The class of 18 graduates graduated with 3,367 college credits earned. We hosted our first annual superintendent golf tournament. We exceeded our goal of $25,000. We raised over $30,000 for student scholarships that went right into our graduating seniors' hands. And we have a very active CTE department. Our career and technical education programs, we had top winners in the Rio Grande Livestock Show, district and state winners in our Health Occupations Students of America, district and state winners in Skills USA. Our audiovisual production has recently been presented with over $12,000 in awards. Success with awards and recognition from Business Professionals of America and Texas Association of Future Educators and Auto Collision as well. And trust me, I know this list is not all-inclusive, but there's a lot happening here in San Benito to be proud of. Next, I want to touch a little bit on technology, some additions and improvements that have taken place over the past 12 months. We've added additional wireless access points on every campus to increase our online capability and accessibility. We've had over 350 projectors installed that, using smart technology, create our interactive whiteboards in our classrooms. Most of these classrooms receive new whiteboards as well. We have another 150 on the way, with installation scheduled to begin in September, which will put us at just over 500, with more to be ordered and installed in the spring. The number of devices for students is increasing dramatically as well. Over 1,400 iPads were distributed to elementary campuses this past school year, and working into the summer, over 4,000 Chromebooks have been distributed to the elementary and middle school campuses for grades 2 through 8. That distribution has been completed this summer, so if you haven't seen them yet, they're on your campuses. Additional devices for VMA and high school students are forthcoming. Mr. Vargas mentioned some of our facility projects. Let me remind you of some of the things that have taken place here. We have had a significant number of roofs replaced the LED screen at the football field. It looked great at Welcome Hound at the other night at the field. We had our main electrical switchgear at the high school replaced. We have renovated 2 hallways and the main office at the high school. They've included a new ceiling, painted walls, new floor and trim, and reconditioned the doors. You'll all get a chance to see how that turned out today. 2 of our elementary campuses, Dr. Garza Esteem Academy and La Encantada, have received new LED lighting, and then we have new LED lighting at our baseball and softball fields. Hopefully no more fires out there this year. Additionally, San Benito CISD over the last 2 years has purchased 18 new school buses for our students and will purchase an additional 4 this school year. We have new playground equipment at 3 of our elementary campuses, new canopies at 3 of our campuses, And as Mr. Vargas alluded to a few minutes ago, we had a community member committee that considered whether a bond should be considered for the school district. And I'm happy to announce, as Mr. Vargas did, that last Tuesday our board did call for that election for a $40 million bond that will not increase our tax rate. And it'll build those 3 facilities. If passed, it'll build those 3 facilities Mr. Vargas mentioned. I think most of the community and probably most people in here are most happy about the fine arts facility potential. But I think there's also quite a bit of excitement about the potential for an indoor multipurpose facility for athletics, for marching band, for our cheerleaders, for our bells. Inclement weather, they would have a place to practice indoors. And assuming that the community passes it, as Mr. Vargas mentioned, we could actually get a swimming pool back inside San Benito with an aquatic center. We've also taken on some new initiatives here in San Benito CISD. Dr. Raul Garza Jr. STEAM Academy will open its doors next week. And it's opening with over 620 students in their halls starting next week. We'll have our first cohort of our early college academy, beginning with sophomores this year with over 120 signed up. And folks, we have just scratched the surface in this area. Expect additional schools of choice and programs to be ready by the fall of 2019. Some ideas included could be a fine arts elementary, an international baccalaureate campus, environmental science academy. Exciting times of program development are in store for San Benito CISD. We have one of the largest and most successful after-school programs in the state of Texas, bar none. And some of the successes they saw within that program include with our elementary, middle school, and secondary level chess programs, including a state chess champion from San Benito High School. Additionally, community service is important with that group. The after-school program Volunteer Income Tax Assistant Club provided assistance to our residents needing help with filling out our income tax forms. So thank you, after-school programs. All right, this is my last section, I promise. Going to finish with finance, or put your money where your mouth is. Our board recently approved a 2% pay raise across the board for all staff for 2018-2019. And remember, that's on the heels of a 5% pay raise the previous year and during the middle of a biennium. So there's no additional money coming from the state, just from responsible district fiscal management. We have incentives aimed at boosting student achievement in place this year to boost student achievement and collaboration for teachers and campus leaders. They've all been approved. Core teachers can receive $1,000 if their campus is above the passing rate on a STAR assessment, and another $1,000 if the district as a whole is above the state average for that particular test. Once again, San Benito CISD will be providing quality health insurance with an option available to employees at no cost. Now, considering that most school districts across the state of Texas only contribute the minimum required $225 per per law, and the majority use TRS insurance, that puts us in with less than 10% of school districts across this state to provide that particular employee benefit. Last year, all of you returning recall, I hope, receiving a $250 training stipend during our Christmas celebration for a short customer service training that we sent out to you. This year, we'll be giving $500 to all full-time employees during our celebration for the Christmas holidays for completing those riveting required trainings that you have to do at the beginning of the school year. As most of you are aware, we changed our fiscal year start from September 1 to July 1, meaning campus administrators did not have to wait to begin ordering supplies for this school year. And trust me, most have been taking advantage of having their budgets available. Additionally, we will realize a one-time savings of somewhere over $10 million in addition to the renovation projects we took on. And that's in addition to our existing fund balance of nearly $30 million. In my last point on finance, I'm going to ask our police chief, Juan Sosa, to bring out an item here so I can share something with you. Yeah, I'm not going to grab this and start throwing it out there because Mrs. Rendon is worried about that, trust me. But I would venture to guess that we are the only school district in the Valley who today, during our luncheon at the high school following this convocation, will give every full-time teacher and classroom teacher aide a $100 bill Thank you all. I think the board was excited to approve that for you all, and I certainly think they appreciate your gratitude. But they know, and I know, that our teachers and our TAs come out of their own pockets every single year to set up their rooms, buy supplies, and take care of students who need assistance. We know it's not enough, but it's something, and we want these individuals to know we recognize what you do for our students, and we're thankful for it. Now, I'll give you a little housekeeping just regarding the distribution today. Tables for our elementary campuses will be set up in the newly renovated A hallway. Secondary and alternative campuses will be set up in the newly renovated B hallway at the high school. After principals have had a chance to eat their lunch, they'll be set up at these tables with cash and a roster for teachers and teachers' aides to receive their money. With the significant amount of movement of personnel, the addition of Southwest Key employees and 2 campuses, our new hires, etc. If your name was somehow inadvertently left off the campus roster, don't call the newspaper. Instead, Hilda Rendon and her staff will be set up in the high school library to take care of you. And I'm going to finish with this. Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." Collectively, we hold the key to whether or not our San Benito CISD continues to thrive, grow, and prosper. With each of you now serving as a Greyhound ambassador, we can continue to be the gold standard in public education. Let's do this for ourselves, for our students, and for our community. And let's have a great school year. Thank you, and go Hounds.
Let's hear it for Dr. Carmen. It's his vision, his work, everything that he's done for this year to transform and get us where we are today. Again, if you can, throughout the day, please go up to him and say thank you for everything that he's done for us this year. So again, on behalf of, for myself, I would like to say thank you, Dr. Carmen, for what you do. I saw the mood. It's standing up here, you see faces and you see people, and during his speech, everybody was quiet and listening. And then once he announced the money, everybody just really pepped up and got energetic. I love it. I love it. It's like students in the classroom when you tell them, okay, students, today's free day, you get to do whatever you want. That's the excitement that I saw in everybody's face. So that's awesome. Thank you. At this time, we're going to go ahead and celebrate some of the achievements that have taken place with TA distinctions. So I would like to first remind the principals that will be coming up. You'll be coming up with your entire school staff when you're recognized for the distinctions from TEA. As you come up, you will take a picture, you'll receive a plaque, and then at that time, the principals will remain. They'll line up on the right side of the stage over here where the Greyhound is, and they'll meet Dr. Carmen there for the second portion of the award presentation for TA distinctions. So at this time, to present the campus distinctions from TEAs from this year's STAR assessments, we have our board president, Mr. Michael A. Vargas. Please come up. So you're here.
So principals, remember, come up with your entire staff. This is one of my favorite parts of the ceremony because we get to honor all of your hard work from this past year. So we begin with earning one distinction, Fred Booth Elementary. So another round of applause for Fred Booth Elementary for their one distinction. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Fred Booth went from 0 distinctions to 1 distinction to this year, so good job. And they're, of course, led by our Principal Nidia Espinosa. Okay, thank you. And Ms. Espinosa, don't forget to hang out over here. Staff, thank you so much. You can be seated. Next up, we have earning 1 distinction as well, La Paloma Elementary. And they're being led by their campus principal, formerly Mrs. Libby Flores. So Ms. Flores, make sure to come up here. Another round of applause for La Paloma Elementary for earning their one distinction. All right. And welcome new principal, Ms. Belinda Gonzalez, to La Paloma Elementary. All right, thank you all. And Ms. Gonzalez, Ms. Flores, don't forget to hang out over here. Thanks, y'all. Next on our list, receiving a one distinction, my very own alma mater, Frank Roberts Elementary. Their new principal, Cynthia Avelar. Congratulations and welcome aboard to Frank Roberts. Former principal, Ms. Linda Molina, who has now left us to another district. Congratulations again to Frank Roberts. Congratulations again, Frank Roberts Elementary. Thanks, y'all. Thank you. And our next campus is a middle school who earned a one distinction, is Berta Cavasa Middle School. And their principal is Mr. Saul Ibarra. Congratulations again, Berta Cavasa Middle School for their one distinction. They're a little larger. You want to go present it to them? Another round of applause for Berta Cavasa Middle School. Principal again, Mr. Saul Ibarra. Come get your plaque, Mr. Ibarra. Great job, y'all. Congratulations. Thanks, y'all. Next, we move on to our final campus with one distinction is our very own Veterans Memorial Academy. Of course, led by Mr. Gilbert Galvan. Oh, here. Are you sure? Yeah. Congratulations. Oscar de la Fuente. Oscar de la Fuente. Again, Principal Mr. Gilbert Galvan and his staff, congratulations to our 9th grade Veterans Memorial Academy. Great job, y'all. All right, thank y'all. We now move on to those campuses who received 2 distinctions. We start off with Judge Oscar de la Fuente Elementary with 2 distinctions. And they're being led by their principal, Mr. Ron Diaz. Look at those capes. How can I get one of those capes? Ask and you shall receive. Put it on. You put it on me? Don't mess up my hair.
I'll try not to. There you go.
There we go. Congratulations again, Judge Oscar de la Fuente Elementary, for the 2 campus distinctions. Now I feel I can fly. Alrighty, our next campus who received 2 distinctions is Dr. Raul Garza Jr. Elementary. And they're being led by their principal, Ms. Elsa Lambert. Loving those new steam color shirts. Congratulations again. Round of applause for Dr. Garza Elementary. Again, they're being led by Ms. Elsa Lambert. And as if you've heard before, we're excited. They will now be our new STEAM Academy next year. Thank you, Ms. Lambert. Thanks, y'all. Congratulations again. Thanks again to Dr. Garza. Next, our final campus with 2 distinctions, very proud, is our very own San Benito High School. And if Mr. Henry Sanchez can come up, and they're being led again by their new principal, Ms. Isabel Solis. Congratulations to our high school. And correct me if I'm wrong, on the high school, we went from 0 distinctions last year to 2 distinctions this year, so congratulations. I was like, congratulations. Congratulations again to our very own flagship school, the San Benito High School. Former principal, Mr. Henry Sanchez, and our new leader, Ms. Isabel Solis. Congratulations. Thanks, y'all. Good job. Thanks again to the high school. We now move on to our campus, elementary campus, who received 4 distinctions, 4 out of 6 distinctions, and that is Rangerville Elementary. And they're being led last year by Ms. Diana Atkinson, if she would like to come up. And new principal, new leader at Rangerville is Ms. Nora Martinez. Loving those masks. Again, congratulations to Rangerville, former principal, Ms. Diana Atkinson, their new principal this year, Ms. Nora Martinez. Another round of applause. Rangerville Elementary, good job. All righty, thanks, Rangerville. Good job. Our next elementary campus who received 5 out of 6 distinctions, only missing it by 1. 5 out of 6 distinctions is Ed Downs Elementary. And their principal is Miss Mamie Herrera. Congratulations, Miss Mamie Lopez. I know. Good job, Ed Downs Elementary. Again, their principal, Miss Mamie Lopez. Congratulations. Alrighty, congratulations again. Thanks, y'all. Now we have our final campus, which we are extremely excited about, receiving 6 out of 6 distinctions. Every single distinction was received, and as Dr. Carmen mentioned, they were named by the Valley Morning Star the best elementary school. We have Dr. Cash, CM Cash Elementary. And they're being led by their principal, Ms. Delia Cornett. Congratulations, Dr. Cash. Again, receiving 6 out of 6 distinctions. Congratulations, Dr. Cash Elementary. And again, their principal, Ms. Delia Cornett. Great job, Ms. Cornett. And remember, they'll be receiving another national award in San Diego, California in October. So congratulations again. All right, thanks you all. Congratulations again. I will now turn it over to our fearless leader, Dr. Carmen. Not yet? Okay, not our fearless leader yet, Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay, this presentation will continue. There's an exciting part coming up. I'm going to need your help on it a little bit because I got to do something that I've been practicing all weekend long, and I need for you to be rambunctious, loud, and cheering for me to be able to do it the way I really wanted to. So San Benito, let's wake up. Let's cheer. Okay, San Benito, are you ready to recognize? Here we go. Dr. Carmen has something special for everyone. Weighing in with one distinction, please help me welcome Fred Booth Elementary. Yeah, it's here for the championship bell. One distinction for Fred Booth. Now weighing in with one distinction, please help me welcome La Paloma Elementary. Are you ready? Let's hear it. Weighing in with one distinction, help me welcome Frank Roberts Elementary. Also weighing in with one distinction, help me welcome Berta Cavazza Middle School. Now we're gonna love this one. Weighing in with one distinction, help me welcome Veterans Memorial Academy. Now weighing in with two distinctions, help me welcome Judge Oscar de la Fuente Elementary. Also weighing in with two distinctions, help me welcome Dr. Raul Garza Jr. STEAM Academy. With two distinctions, help me welcome the Greyhounds from San Benito High School. Let's hear it for San Benito High School. Now we're getting to our heavyweights. With four distinctions, help me welcome Rangerville Elementary. Let's hear it for Rangerville. Now with some heavyweight distinctions, let me hear weighing in with five distinctions, Ed Downs Elementary. And finally, weighing in as heavyweights with six distinctions, help me welcome Dr. C.M. Cash Elementary. Congratulations to each and every one of the elementaries, and I'm sure if you're going to have a lot of fun taking selfies in a few minutes with your staff. Again, congratulations on behalf of Dr. Carmen and the school board on your recognitions. Thank you. I think I'm ready for a Las Vegas job. What do you think? Boxing job? Supplement my income? I love it. I love it. Okay, at this time, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. We're going to take a little small break so that we can do some selfies. I know that campuses will be excited to take pictures with their championship belts. And so we're going to go ahead and break for a few minutes. We'll see you back in a couple. Thank you. Okay, at this time, can you please help me welcome the Director of Public Relations, Celia Longoria, who will be doing the introductions of our Teachers of the Year speeches. Welcome, Ms. Longoria.
We are very honored to have our top 2 District Teachers of the Year joining us, and they will be here to provide us with motivational words so that we can get started on an awesome school year, this 2018-2019 school year. I'm going to briefly introduce them, and then we'll turn it over to them. First of all, I'm going to introduce Priscilla Gonzalez. She is a former Frank Roberts Elementary teacher. She was named District Elementary Teacher of the Year. Gonzalez graduated summa cum laude from Texas A&M in Kingsville, earning a Bachelor of Science in Communications and Science Disorders degree with a minor in psychology. She has been employed with the district since 2016. Gonzalez is pursuing her master's degree and is involved in numerous community service organizations, and she holds several leadership roles. She will be a teacher at the STEAM Academy for this school year. Our other top teacher of the year is Olga Reyes. Olga Reyes is a teacher at San Benito Veterans Memorial Academy. She was named the District Secondary Teacher of the Year. She earned a Bachelor of Arts in English and Reading from the University of Texas in Brownsville, and later a master's degree in Educational Administration with an emphasis in bilingual education from the University of Texas at Brownsville. She has been employed with the district since 1997. Reyes holds several leadership roles, has earned numerous awards, and coordinates several community service-oriented projects. So please help me welcome our top 2 district title winners. We will start with Priscilla Gonzalez first, followed by Ms. Reyes.
Good morning, Greyhounds. Welcome back to the excitement and endless possibilities that a new school year brings. Every person in this room has a remarkable story to tell, and I am confident that the best is yet to come. The dictionary defines the word hero as a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. It is easy to only think of heroes in terms of generic superpowers such as super strength or the ability to fly. But don't be fooled by Marvel movies and DC comics. Most superheroes are ordinary people that have experienced strenuous circumstances in their lives, but made a decision to use those situations as motivation to improve themselves and, in result, convey a message of hope to others. San Benito CISD faculty, staff, and public servants, you have been given the privilege to be the heroes that children not only deserve, but desperately need. How are you going to use your superpowers to positively impact our students, community, and the world? Being a great educator requires continuous reflection. Let us be mindful of our past so that we may learn from our previous experiences. Let us reflect on our present so that we can establish high expectations. And let us dream on the type of future we want for ourselves, students, and district. My journey to become a teacher has not been an easy one, but it is an experience that has given my life immeasurable purpose. I want to share some wisdom that I have learned throughout this beautiful journey with the hopes that something I say today may resonate with your mind and spirit as we embark on this new school year. 5 years ago, I graduated from college with a Bachelor of Science, thinking that I was going to find my dream job as a speech therapy assistant and immediately start making a difference in the world. My idealistic thinking began to fade when, after countless of interviews, all I heard was, "We're sorry, but we can't hire you because you don't have any experience." After a year of searching for a job to no avail, I had to reconsider my life plan. I questioned my purpose, my value as a person, and reflected on the injustices of the world. I could have stayed stuck in that difficult situation, making up excuses about the unfairness of life, but with the support of my loved ones, I made a decision that altered my life forever. I often tell people that I didn't choose teaching, but rather teaching chose me. I enrolled in an alternative teaching certification program after the teaching profession stole my heart during my experience as a substitute teacher. My husband and I made the difficult decision to move away from our hometown in search of a place that could grant me the opportunity to be a teacher. I firmly believe it was God's will for me to walk through the doors of Dr. Garza Elementary, the place with a community of amazing individuals that welcome a person like me who had been rejected so many times into their school and entrusted me with the honor of making a difference in the lives of students. There is beauty in overcoming a difficult situation and knowing you had the determination to keep going. Gandhi once said, "Strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strengths. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength." Students need someone to believe in them, someone to motivate them to keep going and help them discover their greatness. Many times, that is the determining factor of whether a student will fail or be successful. And just like students need someone to believe in them, teachers need someone to believe in them as well. But do you know who is the most important person that can believe in us teachers? The answer is ourselves. Remember that you are the author of your story. Teaching can be a stressful profession. I have personally had days where I have cried and felt defeated. The beauty of teaching is that you will always have precious students greet you day after day in spite of your flaws, what happened the previous day, or what kind of struggle you may be going through. Aside from their parents, they depend on you to be their motivators and help them prosper. Please don't limit students' abilities based on a label that may be associated with them. If you set high expectations for students and take the time to show them that you sincerely care about their well-being, there is literally nothing that can get in the way of them reaching those goals. Dennis Waitley, a motivational speaker, says that our limitations and success will be based most often on our expectations for ourselves. What the mind dwells upon, the body acts upon. One of the most touching experiences in my teaching career occurred this previous school year. I had a student who came from Mexico and tried to run away from my classroom several times when she first enrolled in public school in America. I can just imagine how scared she must have felt to be in a place where she did not speak the language and did not know anyone. My team members and I encouraged her each day and reminded her that she could accomplish anything that she set her mind to as long as she worked hard. I have never seen a student with such determination to thrive than this little girl. Not only did she learn to read, write, and speak the language, she also mastered grade level in her STAR math test that she took in English. At the end of the school year, she wrote me a note that said, "Mrs. Gonzalez, thank you for always believing in me. I do not want for school to end." I stood there in awe of what a student who defeated all the odds was able to accomplish in a few months. That message in that note is the most rewarding part of our jobs, knowing that we made a positive impact. It is through our profession that lives have been changed, history has been made, inventions have revolutionized the world, and provided the foundation for all other professions. Recognition is not our reward. Seeing our students believe in themselves, growing up to accomplish their goals, and persevere in life is a true compensation that can never be taken away. Lastly, no one can accomplish anything completely alone. It takes a team to achieve great things. I want to acknowledge that I wouldn't be standing before you today if it wasn't for God, my mentors, colleagues, administrators, students, and loved ones. Ms. Lambert, thank you for giving me a teaching opportunity 5 years ago. Thank you to the hardworking staff from Frank Roberts for molding me into the educator I am today. To Mrs. Molina, thank you for the continuous support and trust. Thank you, STEAM Academy, for accepting me as part of your team as we embark on this amazing educational journey together. Thank you to my students for teaching me how to be a better teacher every day. And lastly, I want to thank my wonderful husband and family for always believing in me, even in the times when I didn't believe in myself. I want to end my remarks by asking you to remember why you became a teacher. Don't let anything or anyone take away the joy that is associated with changing and transforming lives and minds of children. Enjoy the journey this school year and wear your invisible superhero capes with pride every day. Remember that you are amazing, you are making a difference, and you will write the best chapter of your story yet. You are a hero. Thank you.
Good morning. Just so thankful to be here before you today and stuff. I'm truly grateful to work for a wonderful school district and my VMA colleagues. I really thankful for everything you did for us. Today I want to speak to you about my superhero. Actually, a teacher who has most certainly defined me as a person and as the educator that I am today. Her name is Ofelia Rodriguez. Ofelia dropped out of school in 2nd grade, never went to college, much less earn a degree, never won an award, has never been publicly recognized for any of her accomplishments, and there have been many, including the best tomato planter in the entire state of Florida and the best Mexican cook in the world. But most importantly, she has never been publicly recognized for being the great teacher that she has been to me and to many others. This great teacher's words of wisdom accompany me daily as I teach, in my lesson planning, in my classroom discussions, in the one-to-one conversations with that unruly but gifted student. You know, my students often ask me, why do you care? Why do you want me to stay awake in class? Why do you want me to turn in that assignment that was due 2 weeks ago? Why? And this is when I tell them about the greatest teacher I've ever had, the one that pushed me like I'm pushing them, the one that believed in me just like I believe in them. I tell them about this superhero of sorts who helped me become who I am today, as I aim to do for them. This is when I tell them about Ofelia's wisdom. Ofelia cared about me, loved me. She had a special vision for me, and she believed that it was her job to help me accomplish my dream of becoming a teacher. Because at the crazy age of 7, that's all I ever wanted to be, a teacher. She taught me that with passion, vision, and conviction, what seems impossible is possible. I tell my students that Ofelia taught me that passion is the love for what you do. Passion is the reason you do something, and you do it well. It is the motivation within you. Passion is the necessary tool that will push you when you are tired. discouraged. Passion makes you want to be your very best. It drives you to do your best work. For Ofelia Rodriguez, her passion were her children. For me as a teacher, passion are my students. They motivate me, push me forward when a stack of papers is waiting impatiently to be graded, when phone calls need to be made or deadlines to be met. They drive me to choose better stories, better but challenging learning activities. But passion alone does not guarantee success. You gotta have a vision. Ofelia would often explain the importance of knowing what you want to accomplish, the destination of your hard work. When Ofelia's husband announced that their two oldest daughters would not be attending college, but enter the workforce, Ofelia would not accept that. Her vision for her children was grand. Her vision involved her two oldest daughters wearing white dresses and white caps and help the sick get healthier. And for her only son, her tesoro, as she calls him, to wear a white coat, to have clean hands, clean fingernails, and to be called a doctor. So eventually, she decided to leave her husband. Ofelia began working towards the vision she had for her children. She had a goal. She worked hard, sometimes in 105-degree Florida heat, planting tomato plants or picking the season's fruits or vegetables. She did this from 8 to 5, and at 7 she would report to the local packing house where she would start and pack the crops that had been harvested that day. Tired, she would return home past midnight, but at the end of the week, she was happy. She had earned enough money to send to her children back home in Mexico for college tuition, books, and for food to eat. She was relentless. She had a vision, and it was materializing with every dollar she earned. Being illiterate and only speaking Spanish in an English-speaking country, she held fast to the conviction that she would not allow any of these limitations to stop her. She believed in her potential, in her strength, and the knowledge that hard work pays off. Her passion were her children. Her vision was her future. And that's what drove her conviction. And today, her vision is no longer a faraway goal. My mother, Ofelia Rodriguez, the greatest teacher I know, made out of us 2 registered nurses, a forensic doctor, and a teacher. My mother never earned a college degree, never won public recognition, but today she's made it possible for me to stand here before you as San Benito's Secondary Teacher of the Year and share her story. She taught me that passion is a love for someone or something and the reason you do it. As teachers, that reason is our students. Vision is the goal that we work towards. For us, our students' success and their future accomplishments. And the conviction is our belief that we can do a good job despite limitations, limited materials, difficult students sometimes. But, we can do it. We are teachers after all, and that makes us pretty powerful superheroes in the lives of our students. So, this school year, just remember, we don't need a cape or a lasso to make us superheroes to our students. We all have the passion, the vision, and the conviction needed, and that is enough to change the lives of our students. Before I go, I want to introduce you to my teacher, my superhero, Ofelia Rodriguez, my mother.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, and thank you, Ms. Reyes, for those great stories of inspiration and being superheroes. So once again, thank you both. Okay, now the exciting part of our presentation this morning. We had a lot of exciting parts, but this is our keynote speaker. So at this time, I want to go and give a welcome to our guest speaker. Weston Kitchnick is a lifelong educator with more than 14 years' experience designing, developing, and delivering leadership training and professional development to teachers and school leaders around the globe. He is the author of the best-selling book, Bold School, Old School Wisdom plus New School Innovation equals Blended Learning That Works. He is the co-author of Learning Transformation, a guide to blended learning for administrators, and the creator and host of Teaching Keating, one of the most downloaded edu-centric podcasts on Google Play, iPods, and Stitcher. The last 14 years, Weston has worked in collaboration with innovative tech and publishing companies such as Google, Houghton, Mifflin, Hardcore, and Apple to redefine teaching and learning in the digital age. As such, he's advised educators from every state in the U.S. and more than 30 countries around the world. Districts where Mr. Kitchnick has designed content, implemented initiatives, and trained educational leaders have been recognized by the Learning Council as being among the top 10 in the nation for their work in blended learning. You can find Weston's work published in EdWeek, EdTech Magazine, The Spark, and featured in the 10-Minute Teacher, Teaching Tales, Kids Deserve It, and Lead Up Teach. San Benito, please help me welcome our guest speaker, Weston Kitchnick.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Hey, can we give one more round of applause for our Teachers of the Year, please? I'll tell you this, I have been doing this work for a long time. I have spoken at a lot of back-to-school convocations and back-to-school events. I have followed some pretty tough acts. Those two Teachers of the Year were some tough acts to follow, but I'll say this. I've never had a tougher act to follow than a superintendent who's giving away championship belts and cash. I'll tell you what, like, don't be disappointed in advance. I don't have anything that cool to offer you today. My name is Weston Kitchnick. That was a really nice introduction. People ask me all the time, what they want for my introduction, what they should say for my bio. I always make the argument that my bio can be way shorter than what people stand up here and say. I could tell you more about myself, but let's be honest, nobody cares, right? Not to mention, there's literally one thing that you need to know about me before we continue any further, and that is this. I love teaching. I love it. Like, no, seriously, it's a problem. Okay? I was a high school history teacher for 12 years. High school history teachers, you in the house? Yes. I was a high school history teacher for 12 years. I love teaching so much. I write books on teaching. I have a blog on teaching. I host a podcast on teaching. I love teaching so much, I married a teacher. Which means my children are going to grow up to be resentful. Be real. Any other two educator households in the house? Yeah, you know my struggle. You know the struggle is real, right? I'll say this before I continue any further. Show of hands, any Twitter users in the room? Right? If you are a Twitter user of any kind, feel free to tweet out any of your learning today at either #BoldSchoolHeroes or #BoldSchool. I'd love to tweet out your learning. I'd love to follow you after our time together today. The reason why I bring up Twitter, who is the #1 most active user group on Twitter? Somebody said Donald Trump in the front. No, user group. Most active user group on Twitter are educators. It's us. It's us. We're out there, we're sharing ideas and collaborating with one another because a lot of people are going through the exact same thing that we've gone through. Before I continue any further, I mentioned that I was married to a teacher. This is my teacher wife, Molly. It is worth noting that in addition to being a teacher, my wife Molly is half Puerto Rican, half Irish. I don't think some of you heard me. She is half Puerto Rican, half Irish, which means we have a lot of what she describes as robust conversations at my house, which is the nicest way I've heard of anyone refer to an argument. And one of the initial robust conversations that we had when we first started dating and got together and it was going to be obvious that we were going to get married was about where we were going to live. I am originally from the great state of Iowa. Woo, anyone? That's usually the answer. It's like one person who's like, woo, but I don't live there anymore. I'm originally from the great state of Iowa. My wife is originally from the great state of Colorado, which means I currently live where? Colorado, very good. Some of you also married. I currently live in the great state of Colorado, and that was kind of robust conversation number one my wife and I had together. The second robust conversation was about the number of children we were going to have. And being the good Iowa boy that I am, I was like, hey, we should have like 10 kids. That was exactly her response. Like all the women who laughed, that was exactly her response. And she was like, no, let's have like 2 kids. And so we had another robust conversation, and we went back and forth, and we compromised. And with that compromise in mind, I'd like you to meet my 2 children. These are my 2 children, Everett and Charlotte. I love them more than anything in this world. I show them at the start of every single conversation I am fortunate enough to have with educators for 2 reasons. Number 1, I'm on the road every single week. I miss them. Seeing their picture makes me happy. Number 2, I show their picture because it perfectly frames every single conversation that we will have today. Because are we going to be talking about technology? Yes. Are we going to be talking about innovation? Yes. Are we talking about what it means to boldly educate for the future? Yes. But at the heart of every single discussion that we have this morning, at the heart of every conversation will be children, first and foremost. Here's why. Show of hands in the room. How many of you are parents in this room? Good, thank you. Raise your hand if you've seen a small child. Right? Either way, same page, right? It is not lost on me that many of you who are parents do the exact same thing or did the exact same thing that I do every single day. We take the things in this world that we value most. The things in this world that we value most, and we hand them to educators like yourselves in hopes that they are returned to us better than they were before. In hopes that in the name of innovation, teachers are not making them the guinea pigs for whatever is just new and next and exciting. In hopes that in the name of innovation, they are leaning in to the proven practices of our past, things that we know work while they innovate with purpose. Because I don't know about you, I don't want my children to be the guinea pigs for what's just next. Right? Children will be at the heart of every discussion we have. Furthermore, in addition to children, we're going to talk a lot about great teaching because I mentioned before I love great teaching so much, but it's important for you guys to know something about me. I'm going to share something real quick. It's important for you to know that I had a rough start in this profession that I love so much. I think it's important for you to know before I got to be the guy who stood up in front of rooms like this, before I got to be the guy who was on the cover of the book, before I got to be the guy who hosts the podcast, before I was that guy, it's important for you to know that I was this guy. This is the very first picture that was ever on my teacher ID as a student teacher. I think they're playing fast and loose with the word teacher, quite frankly. But I'll tell you this, I had a rough start in this profession that I love so much, and here's why. Show of hands, how many of you had a really great student teaching experience? Anyone have a less than great student teaching experience? What's the number one most important determining factor in whether or not that's a good experience for you? Yes, your mentor teacher, your cooperating teacher. It's the number one most important factor in whether or not that's a good experience. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got before I became a teacher was, Weston, if you can have any sort of control whatsoever over who your mentor teacher is before you become a student teacher, try to do that. And so as a pre-student teacher, in the semester before I did my student teaching, we had this opportunity as a pre-student teacher to go in and observe master teachers in their craft. Nod your head if you're familiar with this. You go and you watch master teachers. And I remember I walked into a classroom one day in Ames, Iowa. I walked into a classroom in Ames, Iowa, and I saw this teacher in a high school history classroom. His name was Kirk Dado. And all he was doing, it was amazing, you guys. I walked into this high school history classroom, and he was standing there up at the front of the room, behind a podium, and he was making everything he was talking about come alive. He's lecturing with kids, he's asking questions, he's soliciting feedback, he's building relationships, he was funny. And I remember sitting in the back of his classroom, and I was like, that's the guy. I could learn a ton from that guy. And so right after he was done, I approached him, and I said, hey, Mr. Dado, my name is Weston Kieschnick. I would love to be your student teacher next semester. And he looked me dead in my eye and he said, Weston, there's no way that's gonna happen. And I was like, picture about Kirk, like he had a gray mustache, gray hair. He was the head football coach at the high school. And he was just like, I'm only a couple years away from retirement. Kirk was in his mid to late 60s at the time. He said, I'm only a couple years away from retirement. I'm really not interested in taking on a student teacher. Now, for a normal person, that's where the conversation ends. I am decidedly abnormal. I went back every single day for a week and a half, and I begged that man to allow me to be his student teacher until he said yes. At the time, I thought he said yes because he saw something in me. He saw promise in me. I have photographic evidence to prove otherwise. So the time came, and I got to be Kirk Dado's student teacher. And you know those first couple of weeks, you aren't really teaching anything. You're sitting and you're watching. And that's what I did for the first couple of weeks. I watched, and I took copious notes over everything he did because I wanted to be just like him. And then the time came for me to teach my very first lesson. It was going to be on the policies of President Teddy Roosevelt. And I was excited because I was such a Teddy Roosevelt fan. I was like, okay, now that I get to teach, like I'm going to take everything I've seen Kirk do, and now I'm going to add my own spin. Because I am in college and I've read like 3 books, right? I thought it was very exciting, very knowledgeable. I said, I've seen Kirk do his thing. I said, you know what also works? I read that kids are also visual learners, and so my big idea was I'm also gonna bring props, right? So I went back to my college apartment to talk about Teddy Roosevelt, and I was like, man, we had like a big fake tree in our apartment. And I was like, yes, I can bring this and use it to talk about Teddy Roosevelt and his conservation efforts. This would be amazing. And then I said, you know what? I went out to the parking lot. And I found a big giant stick that had fallen down in the parking lot. And I was like, man, I can use this to talk about big stick diplomacy, which you have to say very carefully in a high school classroom, P.S. Middle school teachers are like, dude, you have no idea. Right? So I was like, yes, I'm going to use this to talk about big stick diplomacy. This will be amazing. And then I went and I asked my college roommate, I said, hey, you have a little brother. Does he have like a little toy horse or anything? And sure enough, he had like a little plastic horse with a guy on horseback. And I said, yes, I'm going to use this to talk about the Rough Riders. And I took all of these props and I loaded them into a little red wagon that I borrowed from his little brother. And I said, you know what would really set this off? You know what would really make it amazing? Is if I could reveal each of these items as I went. And so I put a bunch of bed sheets in the red wagon, and the morning that I was going to teach my very first lesson, I walk into Mr. Dado's classroom with a red wagon filled with props. And you know what he says to me? Nothing. He sat in the back of the room, he said nothing, and he quietly watched as I put a tree in the middle of his room and then covered it with a bed sheet. He said nothing as I put a stick in the middle of his room, covered it with a bed sheet. He said nothing as I put a little guy on horseback down in the middle of his room and then covered it with a fitted bed sheet. I was in college, I didn't have very many sheets. And then bing, bell rings, class starts, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. The kids are walking into the classroom, and as they're walking in, they have to walk by the front of the room and down a center aisle and then filter out to the desks. And as they're filtering out to the desks, they're looking with what I think is curiosity at all the items on the floor, but it is pure confusion. The bell rings, and I'm in it. I'm starting, it's official, like I'm teaching. It's my very first lesson, and I'm so excited. I walk over to the tree, I pull back the sheet, I'm standing next to this tree, and I say, conservation, and then I panic, because right in that moment, I realize that's as far as I've gotten in my planning. I have nothing else, I have me, I have a tree, and I have the word conservation. Now, show of hands in this room if you've ever taught a lesson that you know is going poorly. Thank you for your honesty, right? Now, when you are a brand new teacher and a lesson is going poorly, what do you tend to do? That's right, you keep going. You grind it out. It's like, oh, does this suck for you? It's going to suck for 48 more minutes. Here we go. And that's what I intended to do. I intended to fill the next 48 minutes with words about conservation and Teddy Roosevelt and everything I knew about all of these items. And so I start sweating immediately, like an animal. I am sweating. I am standing next to these props. I walk over to my next prop, and I realize now I've just turned into this like terrible reverse magician where I'm just like, ooh, see a thing? Ta-da, here's a thing. And I'm just like revealing props, more sweat, more words. And guys, these children are just looking at me like in complete disbelief at what they're seeing. And I just keep talking, more words, more sweat, tick-tock, like the class is coming to an end. Mercifully, I have filled so much time with so many words, and I'm just looking back at the children like, right guys, like begging for anything back from them, and there's nothing coming back. And so finally I walk over to my last prop, the class is almost ended, I reach down and I pull on the fitted sheet, and as I pull on the fitted sheet, the horse gets caught in the elastic and flings across the room. And I'm chasing this horse around the room, and I'm holding it up, and I'm just like, Teddy Roosevelt, Rough Riders, right guys? Right guys? And just more staring, like in complete disbelief. And as I'm holding up the horse, bing, the bell rings, and the class is over. And I stand there at the front of the room, and I drop this horse at my feet. And I go, and I retreat to stand behind the podium at the front of the room, because now guess what? All of these kids have to stand up and walk right by me on their way out the door. And I don't want to make eye contact with a single one of them. The whole thing's been a disaster. And I put my hands on the front of this table at the front of the room, and I'm staring down. And as the kids are walking out, it's so quiet. The only thing that you can hear is the awkward sound of them like stepping over all my props at the front of the room. And as I'm looking down, the last kid on his way out, he stops right in front of the podium. He stops in front of the podium, and as he stopped, I'm looking down, and I don't want to reach up and make eye contact with him. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, why have you stopped? Please keep walking. Please keep walking. And when I lift my eyes up, I can still see his face clear as day. He had long hair pulled back into a ponytail. When I looked up and I made eye contact with him, he slapped me in the shoulder. And I looked up, and he looks back at me, and he goes, hey, sorry, dude. And then he left. And I remember thinking, even as a young, brand new teacher, I remember thinking like, man, do you know how bad a thing has to be for a teenage boy to feel empathy? I'm like, teenage boys are some of the meanest people in America. Like, and this kid felt bad enough to say sorry. He leaves, walks out of the room, the door closes behind him, and it gets real quiet. Because guess what? We've got to prep, which means we have 50 minutes, and Kirk is still sitting in the back of the room, 50 minutes to talk about what's just happened. And I finally raise my eyes, and I look at Kirk, who's still sitting in the back of the room by his desk, and like an old football coach, he folds his arm, and he leans back in his chair, and he looks at me, and he smiles. And when he smiled, I remember standing in the front of the room thinking, like, he smiled. Maybe it wasn't that bad. And Kirk leaned back in his chair and he smiled at me, and right then, right in that moment, Kirk Dado gave me the very first piece of instructional coaching I ever received. He folded his arms, leaned back in his chair, he smiled at me, and he said, well, and I stood at the front of the room and I thought, that's aggressive. It was accurate, but it was aggressive. And then Kirk gave me the greatest gift I ever received as a teacher. He coached me up. I am a firm believer that not a single one of us, not one of us gets out of this great profession that we love so much alive without the benefit of some really great mentorship and coaching, and Kirk was that guy for me. He coached me up, and one of the things he coached me up about, he asked me a question. He said, Weston, what was your outcome for that lesson? And I had no answer other than, Teddy Roosevelt? He said, no, Weston, like what skill did you want kids to cultivate? Like, what did you want kids to achieve? What was your outcome for kids? And I didn't have an answer. He said to me, Weston, you got so focused on all of your stuff that you forgot what you wanted children to achieve. And I think about that piece of advice that Kirk gave me all the time, because let me save you a bunch of travel right now. I've worked with teachers and students from every single state in this country and more than 30 countries around the world. And if you were to walk into a lot of classrooms right now who are in the early phases of innovation, guess what you will see? You will see a lot of educators so focused on the stuff that we've lost sight of what we want to accomplish for children. Here's the most perfect example I can give you of this. Take 30 seconds with the person next to you and try to read these 3 lines of text. 30 seconds, it's only 3 lines. On your mark, get set, go. I believe in you. 20 seconds left. Final 10. I'm even counting slowly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Show of hands if you think you got the whole thing or almost the whole thing. You think you got it? What's your name? Yeah, right here. Sorry, you think you got it? What's your name? What's your name? Is this working? Okay, good, thank you. Esther, you think you got the whole thing? Esther's not talking back to me. I'm really confused right now. Right here, you said you got it. What's your name? Pardon? Stan? Stan, you think you got it? Give it a try for me, one time. Very good. Give him a round of applause. Give him a round of applause. If you didn't hear it, you would have heard a guy who was 98% right. 98% right. Very, very good. Let me tell you what this says real quick. For those of you who are not able to get as much as Stan did, it says, we are fighting the rebels with only one hand when we should be striking with both. Unchain that black hand. Frederick Douglass, December 11th, 1861. Now, I apologize in advance. You can take the guy out of the history classroom. You can't take the history teacher out of the guy. Let me give you some context about what you're looking at here. What you are looking at right now is a handwritten note from Frederick Douglass to then president at the time, Abraham Lincoln. And in this note, he is imploring Abraham Lincoln to allow black soldiers to fight in the Union Army during the American Civil War. This is an amazing piece of history, yes or yes? That's the right answer. Right? That's the right answer. And I'll tell you what, as a high school history teacher, I would get super excited because technology is amazing. Technology is amazing. You can access primary source content like this at the click of a button. We have access to almost the entirety of all the knowledge of the human experience, and I'd get super excited. I'd show kids a document like this. They'd get less excited for a number of reasons. But what's the number one reason I could show this to kids and they won't get excited? They can't read it. Why can't they read it? Yes, it's written in some sort of strange hieroglyphics they don't understand. Show of hands, how many of you learned how to read and write in cursive in school? Good, thank you. 1, 2, everybody. Are our kids being taught to read and write in cursive more or less in our nation's schools? Less, right? In education, we are so susceptible to these giant pendulum swings that perpetuate themselves in our field. You all just told me at one point, everyone used to learn how to read and write in cursive. And then all of a sudden, the pendulum shifted. Right? And now almost no one learns how to read and write in cursive because somewhere along the line, people decided that what was more important? Typing. And if you've been paying close attention, people have now decided that word processing and typing is not important because now kids can do what? Voice to text, and back and forth the pendulum goes. My friends, I show this picture of cursive writing because I want to drive home this point. It is a dangerous game when in the name of innovation, we determine the skills of our past have no place in our future. That is a dangerous game. It is a dangerous game when in the name of innovation, we determine that the skills of our past have no place in our future. Why? Cursive writing is an example. Why? Because you know what? It may not be a big deal if you get 1 or 2 words wrong in a document like this, but there are other important documents written in this hand. Name one. The Constitution of the United States of America is written in this hand. And it may not be a big deal if you get a document like this, 1 or 2 words wrong, but it's a giant deal in a document like the Constitution, especially if one of those words is all. You get where I'm going here? Furthermore, if our kids cannot read documents like this or original documents like the U.S. Constitution, what are they then dependent upon? Someone else to read and interpret for them. Danger, danger, danger. It is a dangerous place when in the name of innovation, we determine that the skills of our past have no place in our future. We've fallen into this culture where we embrace a culture of or, and the fact of the matter is we have to start to embrace a culture of and. A culture of what? One more time, we have to embrace a culture of what? We have to embrace a culture of and, not a culture of or. Let me talk about the culture of and for just a moment, right? Goodness. Talk amongst yourselves while I figure this out. it upside down? Well, I guess I'm gonna hold it. All right, do me a favor. Hold up your two fists. On your right hand, stick out your thumb. On your left hand, stick out your pinky. Some of us struggling already. For the longest time in education, we've been traveling this direction, this direction, this direction. And now with the arrival of technology, people have asked us to switch. Try that now. My favorite people are the ones looking back at me like this, like, what, I got it. Only to then be surprised by what's going on with their own hands. Yeah, you just saw it, didn't you? Sorry, let's go back to one for just a moment. Go back to the start, right hand thumb, left hand pinky. Some of you are really upset because you're looking at me thinking, he's doing the opposite way. Yes, I'm mirroring for you. For the longest time in education, we've been traveling this direction, this direction, this direction. And now people have asked us to switch. I'm not gonna point to who it was, but somebody over here just went like this. I'm an advocate for working smart, not hard, but that's not really what we're going for here, right? Drop your hands for just a moment. My point is, it's about embracing a culture of and, because the fact of the matter is, great blended learning doesn't live in the place where you either decide you are a great old school teacher, or you embrace technology, so now you decide you are a great new school teacher. Great blended learning lives in the place not where you decide you are either or, but it lives in the place where you can transition back and forth between old, new, old, new, old, new. Right? No, don't. I've practiced that more times than I care to admit. I will admit to you fully, I've been in church with my son going back and forth like, you got it, you got it, you got it. And then my wife hits us from the end of the pew. Right? It's about embracing a culture of and. Here's why. Here's why we have to be about a culture of and. I'm going to make a bold statement, and that bold statement is this. We have to embrace a culture of and because education is not broken. How many of you have heard the narrative out there that education is broken, we need to scrap the system and start from scratch? Has anyone heard? People are talking about that. Can I tell you, I find that statement insulting. I find that statement insulting. I find it insulting to every single practitioner who's in classrooms doing amazing things for children. I find it insulting to all of the teachers who came before us who are responsible for teaching us the great things that we know today. Furthermore, it's entirely untrue. Anyone care to guess what the national graduation rate was in the year 1910? What percentage of kids do you think we graduated from high school? 20? 25? In 1910, the national graduation rate was 8%. We only graduated 8% of the kids who went to high school. That's not 8% of all kids. We only graduated 8% of the kids who went to high school. And guess what? You used to have to take a test to get into high school. Guess what one of those questions was? One of the test questions to enter into high school was name the 5 senses. If you could name those, people were like, that guy is high school ready. Furthermore, consider this. In 1910, there was only even one group of people even allowed to go to high school, and they all looked like me. You had to be white, you had to be male, you had to take a test to get in, and we only graduated 8%. In 2011, when the United States started to standardize the way they measured graduation rates, guess what they found? They found that the national graduation rate had risen to 79%. And when they checked it the following year, they discovered it rose to 80. And in the year after that, it had risen to 81, followed by an 82% raise, and then followed by 83. And guess what it was in 2016? 84. I'll tell you what, my friends, education is not broken. When I take a look at those numbers right there, you know what I see? I see adequate yearly progress. Education is not broken. The only people who don't know it are us. Now, is 84% where we want to be as a collective? No, but it's certainly growth. It's certainly a lot better than 8%. My friends, we are educating more children from more diverse socioeconomic backgrounds with greater rigor than ever before, and the only people who don't know it are us. When the superintendent stood up here and said, we have to start to brag about the great things that are happening in our classroom, when Dr. Carmen said that, we have to. We have to start to let people know that we are being successful on behalf of children. You know what? Some of you are even looking at this right now, even in this room, thinking like, well, Weston graduation statistics are tricky. You know who else thought so? Johns Hopkins University in 2016. And when they did a study in 2016, they found that things like watered-down graduation requirements, mistaken calculations, or push-outs of unsuccessful kids, none of it was widespread enough to have affected the national graduation rate, which is currently at a record high. Education is not broken. You are not broken. You are the thing that has always and will always work about education. Let me step down off that soapbox for a second. Let me step down off that soapbox, and I want to take us on a trip down memory lane. How many of you remember this item? I remember this. Remember when the phone was a thing that hung on a wall or sat on a table in your house? I could tell you with 100% certainty, if you were a person that I knew and you had a 0 in your number, I might not call you. You guys remember the day that this got the long cord on it? It got the long cord and you were like, girl, hold on just a second. I'm going to talk to you in my room. And then you'd have to stop because the cord would have a knot in it, so you'd have to like kick the cord with the knot out. Right? I remember this. Before I go any further, anyone in this room under the age of 30? If you are under the age of 30, I apologize. This next 5 minutes may not be for you. Stick with us, though. Stick with us. How many of you remember this item right here? Keep your hand up if you were ever the remote for this item. My friends under the age of 30, what you might not remember or understand is there used to be a time where televisions didn't come with remotes. They came with children. And we were the remote for this item. Here was the only gift that we had. The only gift that we had, it was like, Weston, change the channel for me. Click, click, click. You find what you wanted? That's all there is. But then for those of us who are really old school, like you remember, click, 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 and your job wasn't done, was it? I can tell you as a child, I was around a lot of TV. I didn't get to watch a lot of TV. Younger folks in the room, folks under the age of 30, don't let any of us old fogies tell you that we were so much more disciplined than kids these days. We were well rested. You know why we were so well rested? It was because there used to be a time when television just turned off for the day. You remember? And at about 10 o'clock, you went to bed because there's just nothing left to do. I remember that world. How many of you remember these? My young friends in the room, when our parents used to tell us to go look something up, this is what they meant. You had to go pull the volume that started with the letter that started with the word you had curiosity about and then hope it was in there. If it wasn't, you just didn't get to know. I'll tell you what, I don't come from a family of any means or money whatsoever. Neither of my parents ever went to college. I was the first one in my extended family or otherwise to ever go to college. I will tell you unequivocally, there are nights in my house when we went without meals at dinner time. I will also tell you there was never, not once, a time when I remember we did not have a set of these in our home. Right? For folks who didn't go to college, like this was the next best thing. And I remember my dad would tell me like, hey, go look it up. And I'd go to our encyclopedias and be like, whoa, what are you doing? You go to the library if you want to look something up. Like those are our show encyclopedias. Remember you used to be able to get these for a penny when you bought pots and pans at the grocery store? If you don't remember that deal, congratulations, you had more money than we did. Now, folks under 30, listen. I want you to listen close. This next one will strike such a chord with some of the people in this room that they'll make a noise. I want you to listen for it. Did you hear it? Remember when this used to be texting? This used to be texting, and I'll tell you what, remember when how much you liked a person depended on how well you folded their note? It's like, here, girl, this one has 2 diamonds on the top. That's right, you're welcome. Oh, surprised. You didn't think I knew about the 2 diamond fold, did you? I could probably still fold it. You know what? Folks under 30, I'd bet my house there's at least one person in this room with a shoebox full of these at home. There you go, I win. Thank you. Thank you. My point is, this was the world that we grew up in, and I raise all of these items and I bring them to your attention because all of these items were important. All of these items were important because I'll tell you what, without the wisdom of the wall phone, the iPhone cannot exist. Without the wisdom of black and white TV, virtual reality does not get to be a thing. Without the wisdom of the Encyclopedia Britannica, my friends, we never get amazing tools like Wikipedia. Some of you don't even know that encyclopedia is the root of Wikipedia. We'll talk about that later. And without the wisdom of the past note, and I said yes, wisdom of the past note, without the wisdom of the past note and this idea that we can share thoughts and feelings and ideas, not just with people around us, but now with people all around the world, we would have never arrived at a place where people can share their thoughts, feelings, and ideas with everyone all around the world. And now we get to know things like Ryan Lochte can't spell scissors. Can I tell you what's most disappointing about this? He calls it rocks, plural. It's rock, singular. It makes me think Ryan Lochte is out there playing rock, paper, scissors with two hands somewhere like rocks, papers, sickers. My point is, my friends, wisdom informs innovation. Wisdom informs innovation, and if you abandon the former in pursuit of the latter, you will capture neither. On the path to one-to-one, on the path to creating innovative learning environments in your classrooms, make sure you bring that old school wisdom with you, because wisdom informs innovation. Our children need your old school wisdom in accompaniment with these new school tools and these new school innovations. It is necessary now more than ever. We grew up in this world that was entirely analog. Now we find ourselves in this world that is entirely digital. And the fact that the world's most masterful educators no longer simply self-identify as old school or new school. Whether they know the terminology or not, they identify as bold school. Bold school is just a mashup of the words blended and old, as a constant reminder to us that on the path to blended learning, our old school wisdom needs to still sit first and foremost at the front of the conversation. As a reminder that the path to great blended and online lesson design doesn't live in the place where we abandon the wisdom of our past. Be bold and educate and innovate with purpose. Here's why. Because when you get home today, I want you to take 60 seconds and I want you to go to this site. I want you to go to autodraw.com. Sometime at the end of the day, go to autodraw.com and I want you to take 60 seconds and just play around with this website and see what it does. Now, I want you to play with this website not because I think all of you need to be using AutoDraw in your classroom. No. I want you to play with this website. I don't want you to play with this website and have an argument with yourself about whether this is useful or not. You get to decide. I want you to play around with this website because what you'll find is that autodraw.com is a drawing platform that is equipped with artificial intelligence that will make a guess at what you are drawing and then provide you suggestions to immediately fill in what you are drawing. It's amazing. And again, I show it to you not because I think this needs to be a part of every classroom. I show it to you because it creates a moment of excitement. And these moments of excitement are important because excitement can lead to poor decision making. Excitement can lead to poor decision making. Let me give you a perfect example. I was in Pasadena, California with my wife. I was there doing an event, and I decided to bring my wife. We were having brunch one morning in Pasadena, California. And as we're having brunch in Pasadena, California, we're sitting in this restaurant. My wife is facing with her back to the door. I'm facing the door, and I'm watching people come in and out of this restaurant. And as we're eating, into the restaurant walks Denzel Washington. Now, I travel every week. It's not uncommon for me to see famous people. It never registers with me as something cool or exciting. But can we all admit for just a moment that Denzel Washington is a pretty good celebrity sighting? So as we're sitting there, Denzel walks into the restaurant. My wife doesn't see him because her back's facing the door. And I lean forward and I say, Molly, don't turn around. But Denzel Washington just walked into this restaurant. Ladies, what does she do? Could not get her head around fast enough. Could not, like an owl, she whips her head around 180 degrees and she stares at Denzel for what I can only describe as a husband as an uncomfortable amount of time. She stares so long, I go back to eating breakfast, and when she finally whips her head back around, she turns to me and in her quietest, most demure Irish Puerto Rican voice says, "He's more beautiful than I imagined." She says it so loud, everyone in the restaurant turns and faces our table. Specifically, they turn and look at me for a reaction, because we all know who she's talking about, and it's not me. And when I say everyone looks at me, I mean everyone. Over my wife's shoulder, Denzel Washington is looking at me, waiting for my response. And the only thing I can think of to do is I look back at Denzel and I give him one of these. And when I did, he smiled at me, that like big toothy Denzel smile. And when he smiled at me, I'll admit to you fully, I thought to myself, damn, this dude is really handsome. We go on and we continue eating, and at one point, Denzel stands up and he walks right past our table. I mean, right next to us, because the restroom is right behind me. And as he walks, my wife watches him all the way to the bathroom. And when the door eventually closes, she turns around and looks at me and goes, hey, you should go in there. I said, sweetheart, no, that's not a good look. That's not. I said, baby, people get arrested for things like that. It's like, no, I just mean like go in there, like just talk to him. I said, honey, what do you think happens in there? It's not casual meet and greet time. Have I ever walked out of a bathroom and said, I made a new friend? No, it's all quiet, eyes forward, wash your hands, back to the table. My point is, excitement can lead to poor decision making. And in that moment, my wife, who is abundantly brilliant, all notions of brilliance and are just social norms and decorum right out the window. Because moments of excitement can lead us to poor decision making, and moments of excitement are popping up not just with auto draw, but all over our field right now. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stuff to get excited about in the name of innovation, and we should. Because I'll tell you what, exciting tools are popping up everywhere. Tools like Flipgrid. Flipgrid is so exciting. You know what? I can record video content, send it out to my kids, and my kids can record video content and send it back to me. How exciting is that? You know what else is exciting? GimKit. GimKit is super exciting. Imagine like Kahoot and Quizlet had a baby, and then that baby took steroids. That's what GimKit is, right? Here's what's even more exciting. It was created by a student, and we should get excited about that. What's exciting are all the learning management systems and learning platforms out there like Canvas and Schoology and Google Classroom. We can house our content in ways we never could before, and that's really exciting. You know what else is exciting? Padlet. We have these collaborative tools that are out there that allow our kids to collaborate in formats where they never could before. It's exciting. You know what else is exciting? Nearpod. Nearpod is super exciting. It's like PowerPoint, but it's not really PowerPoint. All the kids get to follow along on their own device, and you can embed assessments directly into the Nearpod, which kicks you back the results to the teacher. How exciting is that? You know what else is exciting? Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is the most exciting interactive video platform I know of, and it's entirely free for teachers forever. How exciting is that? You know what else is exciting? Poll Everywhere. Poll Everywhere is super exciting. I can get feedback from my kids, not to inform my instruction day to day, but moment to moment. How exciting is that? You know what else is really exciting? Poplet. Poplet is so exciting. Now kids can do concept mapping and thinking maps in ways they never could before. They can draw into it. They can insert pictures. They can insert video. How exciting is that? These are exciting tools. And I'll tell you what, I never in a million years, never would have guessed that I could generate tons of excitement in my class just by uttering the phrase, guys, if you behave at the end of the lesson, we'll do a Kahoot. There are so many exciting tools, and I bring up this moment of excitement for this reason. Because right here, right in this moment of excitement, this is the place where great blended learning goes to die. Right here. This is the place where great blended learning goes to die, because all of you will take out your phones, you'll take pictures of this, you'll go back and you'll explore a tool like Nearpod, and you'll be like, man, Nearpod is awesome. And it will lead to this question. The question it leads to is, what am I going to do with my kids with Nearpod next week? Bam, right there. Right there, we lose. Because what becomes the focus? Nearpod. And what needs to be the focus? Our children. Right there, when we have that moment, what am I going to do with Nearpod? Guess where we find ourselves? Ta-da! Nearpod! Right there is where great blended learning goes to die. We have to think differently about design. Our thinking has to be more robust. It has to be more purposeful than just, what am I going to do with Nearpod today? It has to be more purposeful than just, oh man, I'm getting an observation. What am I going to do with the Chromebooks tomorrow? Let's be real, right? We have to start thinking with purpose about design. But before we can do that, we all have to come to an agreement. We all have to come to an agreement that in our world, learning is king, growth is queen, and cool is the court jester, and the jester is technology. And the jester has value, but don't put him in charge of the kingdom. We all have to come to that agreement. Learning is king, growth is queen, and cool is the court jester, and the jester is technology, and the jester has value, but don't put him in charge of the kingdom. It has to be about more than just what am I going to do with insert cool new tech tool here today. We have to think with purpose about design. How do we do that? Step number one, free up your hands for me for just a moment, right? Step number one, make an O above your head like this. Everybody, hold it there, hold it there, hold it there. Everyone, everyone, everyone. Because step number one, the first thing we have to think about are outcomes. We have to think about what? One more time, show me, show me, show me. Step number one is outcomes. Good, drop your hands. First, and stick with me, it's gonna be like this for like the next 4 minutes. Work with me, right? Step number one, we have to determine the learning outcome. We have to ask ourselves, what is the priority standard that we wanna address? What is the skill that we wanna cultivate in kids? Not what do I wanna do with technology today, but what skill do I wanna cultivate? What is my learning outcome? Step number one, determine the learning. Show me, show me, show me. Everybody, everybody, everybody. Step number one, determine the learning outcome. Step number two, make an S on your chest like Superman. Veterans Memorial Academy is just like, done. Step number two is strategy. Step number two is what? Show me that S. If yours is backwards, ask your neighbor if yours is backwards real quick. If yours is backwards, make it right. Because step number two is strategies. Step number two is what? Step number two is strategies. Once we've determined the learning, show me, show me. Once we've determined the learning, we have to ask ourselves, which high effect size strategies are we gonna leverage so that kids can meet rigorous and relevant learning outcomes? Have we started talking about technology yet? No, and that's on purpose because we have to put first things first. Step number one, determine the learning. Show me, show me. Step number one, determine the learning. Step number two, select high yield strategies. And step number three, put your hands on your belt. Put your hands on your belt like you are holding a tool belt here. Because step number three is tools. Step number three is what? Show me. Step number three is? Now we get to talk about technology. Now the question we need to ask is, which digital? Show me, which digital can support highly effective to make them more effective and efficient than they ever could be before so that kids can meet rigorous and relevant learning? This is the thinking methodology that we have to possess around technology. It has to be more purposeful than just, what am I going to do with Flipgrid today? Then step number four, once we've gotten to a place where we know which digital tools we are going to use, we have to ask ourselves, like you're rolling out a big blueprint down here by your knees, we have to ask ourselves, what is our instructional plan? What is our instructional what? Plan. What is our plan? We have to plan because what gets planned gets done. What gets planned gets done. And you can't develop an instructional, show me, you can't develop an instructional until you know which digital you'll use to support highly effective so that kids can meet rigorous and relevant learning outcomes. And then last but not least, you're gonna stomp it out with your feet. We have to assess for rigor and relevance. Say and do that with me. Rigor and relevance. We have to assess for rigor and relevance. We have to ask ourselves, have we moved to a place where instead of the teacher doing all the work, that students are working and thinking? Our teachers are working too hard. We're working too hard and kids aren't working hard enough. Can I tell you one of the saddest things that I see when I leave schools at the end of the day? One of the saddest things I see is when I see teachers dragging their stuff behind them because they're exhausted from all the work they've done while kids skip off to the bus. I want to see the opposite. I want to see kids dragging their stuff behind them because they're so exhausted from getting their heads and their hands on the content in ways they never dreamed possible before while teachers skip off to happy hour. Take 20 seconds. Here's your challenge. Turn to the person next to you. Review all 5 of those steps with the body motions in 20 seconds. On your mark, get set, go. And bring it back in 5, 3, 2, 1. Let's do it one more time. One more time. Loud and proud. Loud and proud. Step number 1, determine the learning. Step number 2, select a high effect size. Step number 3, choose digital to support those strategies to make them more effective and efficient than they ever could have been before. Step number 4, develop an instructional. And step number 5, assess for. Trust me when I tell you, it would have been so much easier and so much less humiliating for me to give you that on a handout. But here's what I know to be true. Great teaching does not live on a handout. It lives deep down inside your body. And what I had to give you today is a new way to think about instructional design relative to technology, because you're going to have this moment. You're going to have this moment where the next new and exciting tool is going to cross your field of vision, and you're going to ask yourselves, what am I going to do with Edpuzzle today? And right there, I want you to be able to stop and say, no, it's not about the tool. It's about what's my learning outcome, what high-yield strategy will I use to meet that outcome, and can Edpuzzle elevate that strategy to make it more effective and efficient than it's ever been before? Once I know that, then I can plan, and then let me assess for rigor relevance. And if you ever forget that, if you ever forget that thinking process and that thinking methodology, all you have to do is remember that it goes from high to low on your body. That's like I did it on purpose. Let's talk about step 2. What's step 2? Can I tell you what makes me so happy? I said, what's step 2? And some of you went like this. Your hands worked before your brain, and that makes me happy because it means I win. Before we talk about strategies, understand the measure of a great teacher is not what we do, it's what we get our students to do. The measure of a great teacher is not what we do, it's what we're getting our students to do. Get this technology in the hands of your students and ask them to do things that they've never done before. Guide them on the process of problem solving in a way that they've never done before. And that's going to take really great strategies accompanying really great tools. When I talk about step number 2 and high effect size, when I talk about high effect size strategies, does anyone know whose work I'm referencing? John Hattie. Show of hands if you're familiar with John Hattie or John Hattie's work. If you are not, I will tell you this. Put John Hattie and his book Visible Learning on your pedagogical radar. We should all know who John Hattie is. We should all know his work. I'll tell you this. I have no affiliation with John Hattie whatsoever. He does not publish with the company I publish with. He does not work with the company I work for. His work in his book, Visible Learning, is the most important work that's been published in education in the last 100 years. And too few educators know about it. Here's why it's so important. We're not going to play a Kahoot. We're going to do this. When you take a look at John Hattie's work, I'll tell you this, it is the most robust data set in existence about what works with children. How many research studies do you think it is based on? Take a look, think about what you want your answer to be. As you're thinking about it, know that I'm going to narrow it down for you. Right? I talk about John Hattie and his work specifically as it relates to instructional strategies because his work is based on nearly 50,000 different studies about what we know actually works with kids. And if you were to go look at John Hattie's work right now, Hattie, you will find 256 instructional strategies and influences related to kids in instruction. And each of those instructional strategies is labeled with a number. And that number will tell you its degree of effectiveness. And the fact of the matter is, the magic number you have to look at when you look at that list, and I would encourage you to do that today just because we don't have time, right? When you look at that list, you'll see all these numbers. The magic number is 0.4. What's the magic number? The magic number is 0.4 or 4/10. And when you see an instructional strategy with an effect size of 4/10, here's what you need to know. That instructional strategy will have an average effect on students. When you take a look at an instructional strategy with an effect size of 4/10, it means that strategy will give you the equivalent of a year's worth of growth over a single year's worth of time. So when we look at those strategies, do we want to use strategies that have an effect size that is lower or higher than 4/10? Higher, all day, every day. Strategies like reciprocal teaching. Show of hands if you've ever heard of reciprocal teaching. If you have not, it has been around since the 1960s. Reciprocal teaching is an instructional strategy that's been around since the 1960s. It has an effect size of 0.74. 0.74. When kids engage in reciprocal teaching, they experience almost 2 years' worth of academic growth over a single year's worth of time. And too few of us as educators even know what the heck this strategy is. Take a look. Have you narrowed it down yet? Is yours still there? If not, you got to pick a new one. Because reciprocal teaching is an instructional strategy. It is a close reading strategy. Reciprocal teaching is a close reading strategy that invites kids to predict, clarify, question, and summarize anytime they read anything, and they grow almost 2 academic years over a single year's worth of time. I've been reciprocal teaching with my own children since they were babies. My daughter, who is a kindergartner, reads proficiently at middle of 2nd grade level. My son, who was a 2nd grader last year, during the Christmas holiday, read the entire series of the Chronicles of Narnia. That has nothing to do with me or his mother. Don't tell his mother I said that. It has everything to do with the application of a highly effective strategy over time. Think about this. When we talk about highly effective strategies, we have to know what works. We have to know what gives us the most bang for our buck. Take a look at these 4 strategies right here. Talk to the person next to you. Take 10 seconds. Which of these strategies, questioning, peer tutoring, cooperative learning, or direct instruction, do you believe gives you the most bang for your buck? Choose one right now. 10 seconds. Go. Final 5. Time. Show of hands if you think questioning is the one that gives us the most bang for our buck. Good, thank you. Show of hands if you think it's peer tutoring. Show of hands if you think it's cooperative learning. Oh, most of you. Show of hands if you think it's direct instruction. What is the #1 most frequently used instructional strategy used in classrooms around the country? It is direct instruction. And you know what's crazy? You all just told me we don't even think it works. What's the effect size for direct instruction? It's 0.59. When kids have teachers who are masterful at direct instruction, I'm talking about the Kirk Daddos of direct instruction. Keeping in mind that direct instruction is not just lecturing. Direct instruction is lecturing and questioning and feedback and relationship building. Let me ask you this question. Most of you did not pick this, and I bet I know why. It's because, does direct instruction have a good or bad reputation in the educational landscape right now? Yeah, people will tell you all the time, direct instruction, bad. Those people are wrong, and you can tell them I said it, right? Direct instruction works, but now let's have it come to Jesus, my friends. Direct instruction did not get a bad reputation because it's a bad strategy. Direct instruction got a bad reputation when it became our only strategy, and that's on us. That's on us. We have to get, in the name of innovation, we have to get as excited about pedagogy as we do about technology. We should be able to pull instructional strategies like direct instruction and questioning and feedback and reciprocal teaching and cooperative learning out of our back pocket at a moment's notice. Direct instruction can't continue to be our only go-to. Get excited about pedagogy in the way that we get excited about technology. Be bold. I'm going to skip this one just for time. My point in showing you all this is simple. Our children cannot succeed in classrooms where there is a tool surplus and a strategies deficit. I did some preliminary research for the next book I was writing, and in that research, I wanted to know the average number of instructional strategies your average teacher could name and describe with accuracy. And I also wanted to know the average number of digital tools your average teacher in the country could name and describe with accuracy. How many Flipgrids could you name? How many Kahoots? How many Google Classrooms could you name? And you know what I found? The average number of digital tools your average teacher could name and describe with accuracy was around 6. The average number of instructional strategies your average teacher could name and describe with accuracy. Now, keep in mind, most people could tell me like, oh, direct instruction. But then they'd tell me direct instruction was just lecturing. No, that's not it. Or they'd tell me like feedback. I give my students feedback all the time. But they couldn't tell me feedback has an effect size of 0.73 when students give the teacher feedback about what they know. Your average teacher can name almost 6 digital tools and describe them with accuracy. Your average teacher could describe fewer than 3 instructional strategies and describe them with accuracy. Now, I'll tell you this, I will not publish that research. I can't. I don't think it does us any good. It puts a target on our back at a time when we have too many already. But in rooms like this, let's have a come to Jesus about it. We got to get as excited about pedagogy as we have about technology, because our children cannot succeed in classrooms where there's a tool surplus and a strategies deficit. So what I did in my book, Bold School, I tried to do a lot of this work for you. I identified here are the top 11 most frequently used high effect size strategy being used by masterful teachers around the country. These are the ones that we should be able to pull out of our back pocket at a moment's notice and name and describe them with accuracy. And I said, here's how you take an instructional strategy like interactive video and match it with an amazing tool like Edpuzzle. Here's how you take vocabulary strategies and match it with the Google Suite. Here's how you take ideas like and strategies like concept mapping and match it with tools like Poplet. We should never talk about digital tools absent from a conversation about which instructional strategy they support. As we educate boldly for the future, make sure those are the guiding conversations we have around educational technology. Conversations around tools can't happen independently from conversations about strategy. Let me leave you with one last quick story. And this story is about priorities. This story comes from when I was around 10 years old, living in the great state of Iowa. I was around 10 years old, living in the great state of Iowa. I remember this day like it was yesterday. It was Saturday morning, and as a 10-year-old on Saturday morning in Iowa, what was I doing? Watching cartoons. Click, click, click. And as I'm sitting there watching cartoons in our small house, like you should know we lived in a very small house. It had one level with like a really small basement. And I'm sitting there watching cartoons, and I notice out of the corner of my eye, out of the front window of our house, it's raining. It's raining harder than I've ever seen it rain before. And the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming, so hard that at one point I watched it fill up the entire street out front. And I remember thinking how crazy that was, and I kept an eye on that rain as I was watching cartoons because the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming. And that water started to work its way up our front lawn towards the house. And I remember as I was watching TV, I heard like a knock against the front door, and I realized that it wasn't a knock, it was actually the sound of the water slapping against the front door because the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming, and at one point that water had worked its way up all the way to the front door of the house. And I remember thinking how strange it was because if you had been a bird flying above our house, it would look like somebody had taken it and set it down in the middle of a lake. And all the while, the rain kept coming, and it was about this time that I heard the knocking against the front door. My dad left. He left to go next door to help our elderly neighbors, Betty and Hubert, because he figured what was happening at our house was probably happening at theirs, and he was right. Because what was happening at our house was down in the basement. Down in the basement, we had these like old rectangle cinder block windows at the top of the basement, and there was water that was starting to come into those down in the basement. And so my dad went next door to help our neighbors, and my mom and I were going up and down the stairs with buckets and towels, trying to catch all this water as it's coming in. And all the while, the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming. And I remember my mom took a full bucket of water, and she walked up the stairs, and I took a load of wet towels, and I was walking up behind my mom, and my mom got to the top of the stairs, and right before I got to the top of the stairs and holding these towels, I heard the loudest thunder that I'd ever heard in my whole life. It was so loud, like I remember it shook the floor underneath my feet. It almost knocked me over. And I was like, wow, that was crazy. And I walked to the top of the stairs, and I threw those towels into a laundry basket. And right when I threw them in the basket, I heard my mom yell over my shoulder, "Weston, grab the dog, we're leaving." And I remember thinking to myself, that sounds stupid. It's raining outside. But I could hear in my mom's voice, like this was not something to be debated, so I chased around our little miniature schnauzer, and I picked her up, and I put her underneath my arm. And I was holding onto that miniature schnauzer, and I turned and I faced the stairs leading down to the basement, and as I looked down, I noticed that there was water coming into the basement like a river. Like it was coming in so fast, it was working its way up the stairs, and I remember being terrified. I turned to my mom, who was holding on to my two younger sisters by the hand, and I turned to my mom and I said, "Mom, can I bring something?" And she said, "Weston, like you have to hurry. Go to your room and you can bring one thing." And so as a 10-year-old boy, I raced to my bedroom, and I am standing in the doorway of the bedroom that I share with my two sisters, and there's not tons of things of value in my house anywhere, much less in my room. But I'll tell you what, when you are a 10-year-old boy, what is the number one most valuable thing in your room? Trophies, great guess. Spoiler alert, everything. Everything is valuable. And my mom has asked me to pick one thing. And I've got it narrowed down to a thing that I want and a thing that is close. And the thing that I want is a poster that's on the wall that I just got. But I know if I try to rip this down, it's going to rip the corners. So I thought to myself, like, I'll be back for that. And I reached in and I grabbed the thing that was close. And I remember being so upset when I grabbed it because I was like, oh, you never play with this. And it was like this big giant metal car. It was this big metal car that I tucked under my other arm, and I had the dog under one. And I walked and I said, "Okay, Mom, I'm ready." And she grabbed my two sisters. I grabbed this car and my dog, and we waded out of our house. And a couple minutes later, my dad and my neighbors waded out, and I never got to go back to my house because the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming. And this was the little minor league baseball stadium that was in our hometown. And what I found out later was I never got to go back because the rain kept coming, the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming. And that sound of the thunder that I had heard when my foot hit that top step, the thunder that I thought I heard wasn't the sound of thunder at all. It was the sound of our 2 exterior walls to the basement collapsing all the way into the house. And all of that water from the outside and all of that backed up sewage from the outside came right inside the house. And the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming, and the rain kept coming, and it filled up the entire basement and 4 feet on the main and only level of our home. We lost everything. Like my parents have no wedding photos. There are no pictures of me or my sisters as children. It was all gone. And I remember, like, this was photo album time. And I remember my parents are actually originally from El Paso, so we were living in Iowa. We didn't have any family close by, so we turned to our local Red Cross for help, which had set up shop, of all places, at my elementary school. And as I'm sitting there on the floor of the gym floor of my elementary school, which is now a Red Cross service station, I'm pushing this car back and forth on the ground. It is literally the only thing we own. And my mom comes back from getting some supplies, and she sees me pushing this stupid car back on the ground, and she looks down at me, and she starts to cry. She starts to cry, and I looked up at my mom, and I just remember thinking, and I told her, I said, Mommy, don't cry, like, it'll be okay. And she looked down, and she said, Weston, I'm not crying because I'm sad, I'm crying because I'm happy. She said, I'm so happy that you brought that car. And I remember I looked up at my mom, and I thought, well, that makes one of us. She said, Weston, I'm so happy that you brought that car because that car used to belong to your grandfather when he was a little boy. She said, and you don't play with it very much anymore. She goes, but me and my brothers, when we were little, we used to play with it all the time. And she said, you used to play with it all the time. And I tell that story for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think that story perfectly mirrors our year as teachers. Our profession is such an interesting one and so bizarre because the days are so long and the years are so short. Here we are at the front end of another year, and like that, it will be May. Like that, it will be May, and we'll be sitting there wondering how it all went so fast, even though the days seem so long. And we'll hope. You know what we'll hope? We'll hope at the end of the year that every single one of our children has left us or is able or equipped to leave us with something tucked under their arm that has value. It's our hope. It's our hope that in and amongst the storm, kids are leaving with things tucked under their arm that have value. And you know what has value for them? What has value is not Flipgrid. What has value is not knowing how to use Nearpod. Because in 5 or 10 years, Nearpod will be completely gone or completely different from it is right now. What has value is making sure the kids know not how to use the tools of our time, but the tools of their time, equipped with the skills that will last them forever, not for a moment. And it's important for us to remember to be bold because on the path to blended learning, every child deserves to leave us with something tucked under their arm that has value. And those things that have value are skills combined with great tools. And the thing that has value and will always have value is their relationship to you. And with that in mind, with you in mind, I want to leave you with the last thing that I say to every group of educators that I'm fortunate to speak to. I want to exit my role as the speaker for just a moment this morning. I want to exit my role as a fellow educator for just a moment, and I want to step into my number one most favorite role in my life, and that is the role of parent. As a parent speaking to you, as a parent speaking to you, you don't hear it often enough from parents, and I want to make sure that everyone leaves here having heard it from at least one parent today. So from me to you as a parent, thank you. Thank you for all that you do for our children. Thank you for all that you endeavor to do on behalf of our children. I wish you a phenomenal school year. Thank you so much for all of your efforts, all that you currently give, and all that you will give. I am so grateful to you. Thank you so much. Have a great school year.
Once again, let's thank our guest speaker, Weston Kitchnick, for sharing those words and those stories with us today. Thank you. Very motivating and very reflective. At this time, we're going to go ahead and have Dr. Carmen come up and give his closing remarks and close out our ceremonies this morning. Dr. Carmen?
And actually, before I do so, and it'll be quick, before I do so, I'm going to ask Mrs. Rendon to visit with you for just a minute.
Okay, very carefully, we have some door prizes that are located underneath your chair. There is 10 gift certificates. That would be a green ticket. There is 4 tickets to Schlitterbahn, and there's 10 for t-shirts. If you can bring them up front for redeem them at the end of the program.
Where's the stuff? Oh, okay. Again, if you have those gift cards, come to Ms. Rendon so you can redeem them. Congratulations. Go buy a lottery ticket if you found one.
Oh, okay.
All right, folks, while they're claiming their door prizes, I just want to make sure everyone is aware that when you leave here, we have lunch available for you over at the high school. We have the cafeteria set up. We have the main hallway set up with extra tables. We have barbecue from Barbecuity, so it should be pretty good. After the principals have had a chance to eat their meals, they will set up elementary in the A hall, secondary and alternative campuses in the B hallway for teachers and classroom teacher assistants to receive their $100 today. And if for some reason you're not on the list, then just go into the library. Mrs. Rendon and her staff will take care of you. With that, we will close with our alma mater.